Mitch with DrywallInstruction.com. Let's do a quick segment on how to tape and coat a factory seam or joint. The sheetrock comes with one edge that is beveled. It's called a factory edge. And when you put the two together, you have a factory seam or joint. And by looking at this picture, a little close-up picture that I'm showing you right now, you can tell that it has a little bevel, and so it creates a little void to fill up with tape and mud. Before I get too far, don't worry about the lack of nails and screws on my little display here. This is just for demonstration only so that I can show you how to tape this seam. The typical drywall, textbook drywall instruction will tell you that you need to put your tape on, and then you need to put a coat of mud and maybe 3 coats of mud even. In that case, you would use maybe a 6-inch knife to put your tape on, maybe coat it with that, and then maybe use an 8-inch knife to put the next layer on, the next coat on, and then ultimately end up with maybe a 12 or 14-inch knife where you actually did your final coat. I'm going to go a little bit against ordinary opinion, or contrary to the ordinary thought process here, and explain to you that you can put your tape on and wipe it and coat it in the same step, and let that dry and sand it and be about 99% there. And so again, most people won't tell you to do this. I've been doing it for a long time, and I haven't had any problem. I haven't seen any downside to doing everything in one step. I also will tell you that when you get good at coating, you can do it in one coat, and I'll show you how right now. And again, be 99% there once you're dry and sanded. So let's go ahead and show you how to, I just wanted to bed some tape just because I wanted you to be able to see this factory seam before we got the tape on it. I've got my all-purpose mud here, all-purpose taping mud, and I show you how to mix taping mud in another segment. And so I'm going to go ahead and put that on my seam and go ahead and make sure that my seam is all covered well with all-purpose mud and that there aren't any bubbles in it. Again, I demonstrate this on my hand taping segment as well. And then once I have my mud on that and ready to go, I will go ahead and get my paper tape. I prefer paper tape, and you can see that on a segment called paper versus mesh tape. I'll go ahead and put my tape on, and I'll wipe it. I'll start from the center and go back one way and then the other way, and I'll wipe that mud really tight so that I make sure that my tape is on nice and tight and I don't have a bunch of mud left over. Again, when you're wiping tape, you want to make sure that your edges are down tight after you've wiped it, and then you also want to make sure, like I'm doing here, that you don't leave any mud out here on the edge. So you take that right down to paper. So now I've got my factory seam. I've got it taped, and I'm ready to coat it. Once I get my tape on and my mud out, I'm still, because of the bevel and this valley that I have to fill, I'm still lower than this level right here. So that's the benefit of a factory seam. Factory seams are a lot easier than butt joints because you have this ability to fill this void and not have to have as big a hump. For that reason, you can also stand up when you're hanging sheetrock. You can do what we call stand-ups and have your factory seam or joint running vertical. It's not easy to do that always because of the layout of the studs and the framing. It's not possible to do that a lot of times, but when it is, it's a real benefit because it's a time saver for taping. Most often, your factory seams or joints will be running horizontal like this one. So now that I've got my tape on here, I'm going to go ahead and get my pen and knife. I'm going to go ahead and use my 12-inch knife right off the bat. And so I will make sure that I look at my 12-inch knife. My 12-inch knife has a curve to it one way, and so I'll make sure that I have my curve not going into the valley, but the opposite, so I'm not wiping mud right back out of that valley as I fill it. And so I'll go ahead and take my 12-inch knife, and right from the start, I will, and I'm a little rusty with a 12-inch knife, I have to tell you. I don't use a 12-inch knife for coating very much at all. I use a hawk and trowel more often, and I'll show you how to do the same thing with a hawk and trowel. But as I go ahead, I'll start by getting mud on this seam and basically getting it filled up, so to speak, from the start. So I'll go ahead and get the majority of the mud on first, and then I'll start back here and I'll take the pressure and I'll put it on the outside of my knife, and I'll go ahead and wipe that top edge off, and then I'll do the same thing on the bottom. I'll put the pressure on the opposite side of the knife, and I'll wipe that off. As you can see, when I do that, I have no mud on the outside edge, which will be a benefit when it comes to sanding. And then I'll take my knife and I'll just gently wipe that top edge off. So again, pressure on the outside of the edge of the knife, get this outside edge totally taken down to paper, and then I'll take my knife and go right down the center of it. I've got a little void there that was missed, and I'll go ahead and wipe that. Now, as you can see, there are little edges. When you're coating a seam, it does not have to be perfect the first time. Your biggest issue is making sure that your edges are down so you don't have to spend a lot of time sanding them. And then just getting it reasonably smooth, because this is topping, and we used all-purpose to put the tape on, and then we put that away, and then we are using topping to coat this, because topping is soft and sands easy. And so for that reason, we don't need to worry about having it perfect. One of the biggest mistakes people make when they're coating with mud is they spend way too much time getting it perfect. Your sander will go right over that. It'll take all of these little imperfections off. And once we have this dry and we sand it, we'll be about 99% there. We may need to do a quick skim coat and fill in any imperfections, but we're ready to texture. Hope this has been helpful to you, and you'll continue to follow us at drywallinstruction.com.